welcome back to the next class of the human reproduction. In the previous classes, we had came to the part of the fertilization, implantation, then the next part, the continuity of it is pregnancy and embryonic development. Now in the previous part, as we came across the implantation, we came across the definition of the implantation also. That is, if the embryo gets attached in the wall of the uterus, that means attachment of the embryo in the wall of the uterus is termed as implantation. Now where exactly implantation occurs? Implantation occurs in the womb of the mother, in the uterus of the mother. In the uterus, the inner wall is termed as endometrium. In the endometrium, the embryo gets implanted. And what is this embryonic stage? As we have already studied, this embryonic stage is called as a blastocyst. The blastocyst, on its outer layer, it is having cells called as a trophoblast and inner cell mass called as a Robert's cells also. These trophoblast cells, they will produce finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections, which we call them as chorionic villi, will enter into the endometrial wall. So they will enter into the endometrial wall. When it enters into the endometrial wall, even the endometrium also projects outwards, and the chorionic villi or the trophoblast cells which produce finger-like projections or villi-like projections, they enter into the uterine membrane and it gets interdigited. When it gets interdigited, then this forms the placenta. So this forms the part of the placenta. Then what is placenta? Look at this. We'll come across the definition of the placenta. Then let's see what type of placenta is human placenta. Then when we come across the placenta, it is the organic connection. It is the organic connection between mother and fetus for physiological exchange of substances or materials between them. So placenta is an organic connection between mother and the fetus, and we also call it as a temporary connection between mother and the fetus. And this placenta, it provides nourishment for the developing embryo. Okay, then when the placenta gets developed in the womb of the mother, what type of placenta is a human placenta? Human placenta is said to be chorionic placenta. Look at this part. Human placenta is said to be chorionic placenta because an outer layer, finger-like projections which arise from the trophoblast cells, we call them as chorionic villi, and hence it is also termed as chorionic placenta. Or this is also termed as a hemochorial placenta. Hemo meaning blood. It is dipped in the blood of the mother, in the blood vessels of the mother, especially in the uterine layer, and hence it is termed as hemochorial. It is a metadiscoidal. If we look at its shape, it is a disc-like shape, as you know regarding the shape of the disc. Disc-like, metadiscoidal in shape. And it is said to be deciduate type. Why do we call it deciduate? Means it falls off after the process of pregnancy. It falls off. That's why it is said to be deciduate type. So after the delivery of the baby, even the placenta also ruptures and it is released out of the uterus, and hence we say it as a deciduate type of placenta. Okay, then when we come across the placenta, first let's look at the major functions of the placenta. Then we'll look at the hormones of the placenta. Now placenta, as we say, it is the organic connection between mother and fetus for the physiological exchange of materials. Then what is the major function of a placenta? The major functions are, first one, placenta, it acts like an organ that helps in transport of oxygen. So it transports, or we also call it as a supplies oxygen. Then placenta supplies oxygen to whom? Placenta supplies oxygen to fetus. Then after utilization of the oxygen by the fetus will give out carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has to be removed out, and hence it transports carbon dioxide from fetus. Then apart from this, what is the other function of the placenta? Placenta also provides nutrients. So it provides nutrients to the developing embryo. Then it removes nitrogenous waste. It removes nitrogenous waste from the fetus, developing fetus. The nitrogenous waste is removed through the placenta. Nutrients are supplied through the placenta to the fetus, and even oxygen is also supplied. So useful materials are supplied to the embryo, developing embryo, and waste substances are removed. And these all processes occur through the placenta only. So this is the major function of the placenta. And placenta initially it acts like all the organs of the fetus. Before it is developed fully, it acts like all the organs. Okay, then let us look at the hormones of a placenta. If we look at the hormones, placental hormones, the hormones produced by placenta. One is a SCG, where we call it as a human chorionic gonadotrophins. Then second one is HPL, human placental lactogen. Then third one is estrogen, then progesterone, and even in the later cases, one more hormone called as a relaxin is also produced by the placenta. We call them as hormones of the placenta. Now look at this part. Now HCG, HPL, estrogen, progesterone in the form of a progesterone, then relaxin, all these are the hormones produced by the placenta. SCG and HPL, these are the major hormones which are produced during the embryonic stage, or when the baby is growing in the womb of the mother during the pregnancy period. SCG and HPL, and this forms the conformative test for the pregnancy. In the human female urine, if the SCG and HPL, these cells are found, then it indicates that the female is pregnant in the kit. Okay, then look at the hormones here. SCG, HPL, estrogen, as usual it is produced by the female ovary along with that placenta also. Even the progesterone has to be produced, because these hormones also influence on the ovary to produce more progesterone also. Then relaxin is produced in the later conditions. Generally it is in the during the parturition process, relaxin hormone is produced. Then apart from this, even other hormones like cortisols, thyroxine, their concentration is also increased during the pregnancy. This ensures that the proper pregnancy has to be carried out in the females. Then what is the pregnancy period, or we call it as a gestation period? So we use a term called as a gestation. Gestation means the period of pregnancy. So the period of pregnancy, this is termed as a gestation period. So then what is the period of pregnancy in the human females? Now it is around 280 days or 36 weeks. 280 days or 36 weeks, and even this is also considered as a 266 days also if we take on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. Okay, so 280 days or 36 weeks. This is the pregnancy period in case of the humans. Then in other organisms also the gestation period or the period of pregnancy varies. Now how about in cats? Suppose if we take in the cats, gestation period is around 61 days. And if we take dogs, the gestation period is around 64 days. And if we take elephants, the gestation period is 616 days. Look at the gestation periods here. The period of pregnancy varies in different animals also. In the cats, gestation period is just around 61 days. In the dogs, it is around 64 days. In the elephants, look at the gestation period. It is around 616 days. Okay, and gestation in the humans, 280 days or 36 weeks. So this is regarding the period of gestation. Now, apart from this, during the embryogenesis, what are the changes that will occur in the female reproductive system? First, we will see this, then we'll come actually to the part of the diagrammatic representation of all these things. Okay. Now, as far as the gestation period is concerned, as far as the embryonic stage is concerned, we know the first embryonic stage is a blastocyst. Now, this blastocyst, which is also called as blastula in case of other animals, it undergoes the process of cell division to form into one more stage where we also call it as a gastrula. So, the first embryonic stage where we call it as a blastocyst. So, what is the transformation that occurs in the blastocyst? So, we will see that part. Now, here blastocyst, as we know, this has the outer layer cells also and inner cell mass. Outer layer cells, they are called as trophoblast cells. Inner cell mass group of cells are there. This inner cell mass, this is a inner cell mass. They are pluripotent, as we already know it. They are pluripotent, and hence they are also called as stem cells, because from these cells any kind of tissues and organs can be formed. That's why the inner cell mass, they are also called as pluripotent cells. They are also called as stem cells. Outer layer cells, trophoblast, which produce finger-like projection and then get implanted in the uterus of the female. Then this gets transformed into one more stage, and we call this stage as a gastrula stage. We know there is a cavity which is present in the blastocyst, which is called as a blastocele. Then in the next one, in the gastrula stage, what happens? 3 germ layers are formed. Outer part is ectoderm. We call them as germ layers. The outer part is ectoderm, middle part is mesoderm, and inner part is endoderm. Okay, so this forms into ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. Okay, and then these layers will give rise to different organs. So ectoderm, mesoderm as well as endoderm, they are responsible for the formation of different organs. Okay, now which organs are formed by this? We'll see it. The blastocyst, let us come back to the part of the pregnancy period here, the embryonic stage here and the placenta here. The trophoblast, which gets implanted in the wall of the uterus, it produces villi-like projections, finger-like projections, and then gets implanted in the uterine tissues to form into placenta. Okay, then let's look at these parts. Now look at the part of the uterus here. This is a uterus, or where it is also called as womb of the mother. Now here we have the placental villi, and this is connected with the, supplied with the blood vessels also. And here we have allantois, it is a placenta. Then here yolk sac, a small yolk sac. This is the umbilical cord. Umbilical cord in Kannada it is called as a hokkala balli, hokkala hure. Okay, umbilical cord. Then it is supplied with the blood vessels also. This side, this is the uterine cavity, so lined by the blood vessels. This is the developing embryo, and this is the layer which is called as the amnion, and the fluid is called as the amniotic fluid. In the amniotic fluid, the embryo will be growing. So embryo is present in the amniotic fluid. This amniotic fluid, as it is floating here, it acts like a shock absorber, and it prevents from getting injury to the embryo from mechanical shocks also. So this is regarding the fluid. And even the sex of the baby, the genetic disease can be detected based on this fluid also. And the process we call it as amniocentesis. That will come in the next topic. So amniotic fluid can be taken out. The sex of the baby, which was exploited, now it is totally banned. It can be detected through the amniotic fluid only, because the amniotic fluid has fetal cells here. Okay. Then if we look at the placenta is made up of allantois, yolk sac, then amnion, as well as here we have the chorion placenta. Now, if we look at all of these placenta, allantois, it helps in formation of the umbilical cord, helps in transport of all the substances and materials to the embryo. And here we have a small yolk sac. Probably this yolk sac is short, and this function, it acts like an excretory organ before the embryo is formed. Then here we have an amnion layer, a protective layer, and the fluid is amniotic fluid, in which the fetus, developing fetus, or we call it as an embryo, is floating here. The embryo develops into the fetus. Fetus gets completely developed into baby, which takes birth in the later cases. And this is the cervix region, where it consists of a plug of mucus in the cervix. A plug of mucus will be there, so that it prevents the jerk of the embryo. Okay. So this is regarding the part of the explanatory part of the human uterus, where the embryo is growing, where the fetus is growing. Then, now what happens here? In the embryonic stage, as we came across the next embryonic stage, after blastocyst, gastrula is formed, which consists of 3 layers. Outer part is ectoderm, middle part mesoderm, inner part endoderm. We call these as germ layers. So there are 3 germ layers which are formed. Then after the formation of the germ layers, it gives rise to organs. That means up to this stage, there is no development of any organ in the embryo, any organ in the fetus. Look at this. Ectoderm. The ectoderm will give rise to brain, spinal cord, entire nervous system gets arised through the ectoderm. Even the skin is formed through the ectoderm only. Then if we come across the mesoderm consists of various organs in our body, which may consist of the human heart also, and other organs are formed through the mesoderm. And even the blood, the connective tissues are also formed through the mesodermal cells. Endoderm, it forms the GI tract and various organs in our body. Look at this part. After this embryonic stage, it gives rise to various organs. Later on, the organs are formed in the embryo. Okay, now look at the embryonic process here. When the sperm fuses with the egg, the process is called as fertilization. Fertilized egg is called as zygote. Zygote develops into embryo. Now this embryo develops into fetus. Fetus, when it is fully formed, we call it as baby, that is ready for delivery. This is the embryonic sequential stages. Okay, then after the germ layers, now let's see what happens in the pregnancy period. What happens, which are the organs which are formed during the 9 months of pregnancy. Okay, now let's start with the first month of pregnancy. In the development of various organs, in the first month, okay, in the embryonic period, which organs are formed during the gestation period, in the pregnancy period, from the first month of pregnancy to the 9th month of the pregnancy. We just divide this into 3 trimesters. Trimester meaning first trimester, first 3 months. Second trimester, second 3 months. Third trimester, last 3 months. That means 9 months. So 3, 3, 3, totally 9 months. We just divide it into 3 trimesters. In the first month of pregnancy, what is formed? Heart of fetus. That means heart develops first. Heart is the organ that develops first at the end of the first month of pregnancy, and we can hear the heartbeat of the embryo also. So first month, the heart of the fetus is developed. Okay, then in the second month, of pregnancy, limbs and digits are formed. Look at the part here. First month of pregnancy, heart of the baby is found. Second month of pregnancy, the limbs and the digits. So these fingers, initially they will be in the form of bud. It will be in the form of a bud. The digit starts to develop in the second month of pregnancy. Then at the end of a first trimester, third month, or we call it as a first trimester. So look at this part. Now in the almost end of the third month, where we call it as the first trimester. So first month, heart of the baby gets developed. Second month, the limbs and the digits gets developed. And at the end of the third trimester, so various organs are also produced, like external genitalia as well as limbs. So external genitalia and limbs, they are developed at the end of the third month or first trimester. At the end of the first trimester, the external genital organs as well as the limbs are formed. Then in the fifth month, first movement of fetus and growth of hairs on the head. Look at this part. In the fifth month of pregnancy, almost a growth of hairs on the head as well as the first movement of the baby. The symptoms can be observed by the mother during the fifth month. That means the first movement of the fetus is shown in the fifth month and the growth of the hairs on the head is shown in the fifth month. Then sixth month, we call it as the end of a second trimester. Sixth month, it is also called as a second trimester. So fifth month or a second trimester, what happens? Growth of hairs on the body. Then eyelids separate and eyelashes are formed. So the eyelids get separated, eyelash are formed at the end of second trimester. Then the process goes on continuing, and in the 9th month of pregnancy, fully developed fetus, where we call it as a baby. Now the organ growth and formation continues to the rest of the month. In the 9th month of pregnancy, the fetus is fully developed. This fully developed fetus, now it is called as a baby. Till this part we don't call it as baby, we call it as fetus only. In the 9th month, the fully developed fetus is said to be baby, that is ready for delivery. Okay, now it is ready for delivery, and the next process that occurs from this is called as a parturition. Okay, so regarding the part of the parturition and lactation, this is the last concept of the human reproduction topic, which will continue in the next part. Thank you.